Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. It would seem that, and this will surprise no one, that Anthony Joshua is not going to fight Daniel Dubois in the proposed rematch. Instead, he's probably going to hang around waiting for Tyson Fury, whether Fury beats Usyk or not in their rematch. That's if they fight, of course. There's a lot of ifs and ands, and if ifs and ands were pots and pans, as my nan used to say. But this the sort of avoidance of the Dubois rematch has been touched upon, not explicitly, it's more sort of hinted, with Eddie Hearn saying that the two options for Joshua are either the rematch with Dubois, and he emphasises Joshua does want revenge over Dubois. Okay, well, he wants it. Whether he thinks he can get it is another matter. Or possibly fighting Fury. That's another option. And Frank Warren sort of further muddied the water, shall we say, for Dubois Joshua Part 2 by saying that he wants Daniel to fight in February 2025. We're already at the back end of October, last week of October. So we're talking, how long do you want your camp to be? 10 weeks, 12 weeks? Eddie Hearn also says that Joshua has some minor injuries. So if he does have the minor injuries and he goes into a 12-week camp, depends what those injuries are, I suppose. If he has them, of course, there's maybe an excuse. You never know with promoters. They talk so much crap. It all points towards Joshua not fighting in February. And Dubois will go down a different route, maybe a mandatory of his IBF belt. Don't forget, Joshua was a voluntary defence. To be honest, this doesn't surprise me. The first fight was such an obliteration that surely, considering that Joshua is still, despite 4 defeats, a big cash cow for Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and DAZN, they're going to try and rebuild him again and not take any sort of suicidal risks. Perhaps they learnt from the immediate rematch against Usyk, what can happen to someone's stock and their confidence, self-belief and so on, if you go straight into a rematch where you've been conclusively beaten and then lose again. Although having said that, of course, Joshua went the distance with Usyk. He's been distanced with Usyk twice with the benefit of hindsight. And I said this at the time, it's not too bad. It's not a dreadful, those aren't dreadful results considering, what Usyk, the quality of Usyk. He is one of those generational talents, cast iron Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest cruiserweight ever, and an extremely good heavyweight champion who would have given anyone in history an argument at heavyweight. So Joshua, to go back in with Dubois, who's absolutely obliterated, destroyed him. No. A second, a repeat of that, a second helping of a beating from Daniel Dubois would surely turn Joshua's entire career into ashes. And God knows it's damaged enough already. So I never thought, to be honest with you, that this Dubois rematch was going to happen. I think it would be... There was one thing, I thought it would be career suicide, but then there was one thing that made me second guess myself, which is that Joshua is not a young man anymore. Is he 35 now, 34, 35? Okay, that's not ancient for a heavyweight, but it's still not a young man, young for a heavyweight. Daniel Dubois is young for a heavyweight. He's 27. Moses Atama is a fucking fetus for a heavyweight. He's 19. You've got these people, the next generation. In fact, you could argue 2 generations. It's really consider Atama and Joshua. Joshua's almost old enough to be Atama's father when you think about it. 15, 16 years, whatever it is, the difference. But, no, he was never going to fight Dubois in a rematch. I don't think so. As for Fury, let's say Fury does fight Usyk on 22nd of December and loses again, then you can still sell that Joshua fight. It's past its sell-by date. It's probably going to be a heavyweight equivalent of Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. but you could still sell it because they're two massive names, and the casuals will come through the floodgates. They'll pay through the nose for it. It'll be a good night out, a good piss up, or whatever it is the casuals like to do. But it will be. It's past its sell by date already. Now, if Fury wins against Usyk, I would like to see a third fight between the two, as I said before, because to me it ain't about revenge. It's about if you've lost to one guy once and you've beaten him in the rematch, it's still 1-1. I want to see a decider, right? And I know there are other fights to be made, but they'll just have to bloody well wait, because I'm sick of this, well, I won the second fight, therefore I'm on top. No, you're not. You lost the first fight. And the example I always think of, the most recent example, is Chris Eubank Jr. You got knocked out in, is it 4 or 5 rounds? 4 rounds, wasn't it, against Liam Smith? And then he done Smith in whatever it was, 9 or 10. Yeah, but he beat you quicker, mate. You haven't proved your superiority. You've proved that you were the better man on the second night, but now we need a decider. And that's what I would want if Fury beats Usyk. I would want a decider there. Now, if he loses to Usyk, then okay, Fury versus Joshua, past its sell by date, not a belt on the line, but it would still sell. I don't think it would sell Wembley Stadium. Maybe I'm wrong. Hearn thinks he's one of these guys who sell ice to the Eskimos, ivory to the elephants. I mean, fair enough, but it would still be a big money spinner, a very big money spinner. And then maybe the winner of that fight could go after Dubois if he still holds the IBF belt. So there's lots of these different permutations happening. But Dubois versus Joshua next, I didn't think that was going to happen. And it looks, from the way that Hearn and Warren are talking, that it ain't going to happen. At least not yet. Although if I was Joshua, I'd be thinking, I've got to rectify that wrong. I got maybe not humiliated, because I don't think there is anything humiliating about having the balls to get into a boxing ring in front of 100,000 people with God knows how many millions watching. And even if you lose, you had the bottle to do that. That's more. I'd probably fucking faint if I tried to get into that ring, and so would most of you lot, whether you admit it or not. These are a special breed of men. So I wouldn't say that he was humiliated, but he came pretty close to it, didn't he? It was complete one-way traffic for Daniel Dubois. And the rematch, I think, I'd be surprised if it didn't go the same way, but you never know, do you? Anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Did you ever think Dubois-Joshua would happen next? If not, what do you think of Fury versus Joshua? Do you think Fury will beat Usyk in the rematch? What about, a rematch between Dubois and Usyk? But again, I know I've said it before, the way Dubois has reinvented himself. Last year, it was only about 17 months ago, whatever it was, that he got knocked out by Usyk, and suddenly he's top of the world. But it shows you, the defeats needn't matter. Only if psychologically you let them matter. If you listen to all the crap taught by people who never had a pair of boxing gloves on in their life, then it'll bug you. But if you keep fighting good people and learning, if you lose, look at where you can get to. Anyway, comments below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you could do that, you'd be doing us a big, big favour. And also, that like button thing, give that a little click as well, because it's free. And you'll be spreading the love of Joe Stunner Boxing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.